Good morning, everyone. This meeting of Wichita County Commissioners Court will come to order. This is a Friday, kind of an informational meeting. There really won't be any votes taken today, but we've got several presentations and several of our regular things that we look over on a Friday. So let's get started. We will start off with a report from Chris Coriel, Vice President of Sales with RCI Account Manager, on their records retention program and document scanning and imaging services. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners.
Be sure to give your name and also be read into the record.
All right, I'm Chris Coriel. I'm Vice President of Sales with Records Consultants Inc., RCI. And we're in San Antonio, Texas. So I came in yesterday, so I'll give you guys a little bit about what I found and a little bit about what we do. So I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with us. I met Commissioner Beecham at the TAC conference last August and talked a little bit about the services that we do. So if you're not familiar with us, we're out of San Antonio. We're a small company. We have less than 100 employees, but we've been doing this for 30 some odd years. And actually a little bit longer than that before we were called RCI. So even though we're a small company, we have a pretty big footprint. As far as records management services, which I'll talk more about what we do, but just to kind of tell you a little bit about who we are, we help probably about 800 of the 1,040 school districts in the state. We help probably about 120 of the counties, appraisal districts, you count more than that. Probably about 500 of the municipalities in the state, and then we do this all over the U.S. So that's just in Texas. Probably about half of our business is within Texas, right? So anyway, so that's a little bit about what we do. We help local governments, so our clients are cities, counties, school districts, colleges, universities. Our core service, our name is Records Consultants Inc. It's a little bit of a misnomer. How much time do I have? About 15, 20 minutes? Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Whatever you need to give the presentation.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief.
That's why we do these on Friday, where we've got time to take care of it.
Yeah. Okay. So again, we help all the local governments are basically our clients, right? Our Records Consultants Inc., we're a service provider. We're not consultants, so the name's a little bit outdated. So we basically provide services that our clients struggle to do internally, right? So they don't have either the resources or the expertise, and that's why we're called into so many institutions. So on the records side, we kind of count ourselves as holistic records managers, right? We work very closely with TESLAC. I'll talk more about them in a minute if you guys aren't familiar with them. But we work very close with them to help our clients organize and comply with the retention schedules within the state. And there's kind of three services that we provide under that records retention management, right? So first of all, before I kind of talk about us, in the state of Texas, there are 12, TESLAC, Texas State Library and Archives Commission, was given legislative power back in '89 through legislature. They were given the power to kind of be the entity that controls what records have to be maintained and everything to do with records in the state of Texas, right? For all local government entities. So there are 12 different record schedules that apply to all of the different entities. Those 12 schedules, there are several that apply to counties. There's one specific to district clerks, one specific to county clerks. There's one for law enforcement. There are some others out. There's a general record schedules that kind of encompasses everybody. There's one specific to law enforcement. There's one specific to school districts, one specific to colleges and universities. I'm doing this from memory here, but so there's 12 schedules. A handful of those schedules apply to, there's one for utilities, by the way. So a handful of those apply to county governments, right? Counties, another thing in that legislation that TESLAC requires is that every entity is required to have a records management officer. It's a little bit easier for a school district or a city or a college university. They have one records management officer. It has to be approved by the board, whether it's the city council, the school board, whoever. Counties are a little bit more unique because every elected official is their own records management officer. So it's a little bit different. So it's a little bit harder to herd the cats across the county because everybody has their own, individual records responsibility. So what we do, right, so that's kind of just the lay of the land a little bit, right? So our core services are around helping our clients physically sort through and identify what records they have. And I'm talking inactive records. We don't go into people's offices and filing cabinets and desk drawers and shelves and all that kind of stuff. We go into what's typically called the records center. That means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, right? And in a school district, it could be underneath the gymnasium bleachers. It could be a Connex out back. It could be a big warehouse. You guys have a pretty big facility over here. It's a lot of different, it could be a vault if you're in a city, but wherever that record center is where we kind of come in and do our work. We come in and we identify those inactive boxes of records, because every year new records are created, right, from each fiscal year. And so our service is to come through, sort and identify those boxes, label them with what the actual TESLAC record series. When you print out that record schedules, those 12 schedules I told you about, if you print it out, it's a volume about that thick, right? So it's got 3,800 series. I think there's 3,800 different classifications of records. So our guys are experts, they live in records. That's not me, by the way, so let me give you a little bit of disclaimers about me and who I am. I don't live in that. I talk about what we do. We have guys that live inside the schedule, so I don't want to misrepresent anything that we do or my knowledge about records. So I'm going to back up. I'm going to pause right there. So I did a little bit, so kind of what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about who we are, TESLAC in general, and then a little bit about what I found, because I came in yesterday afternoon. Ricky was kind enough to kind of show me some of the records that you guys have, so I have a little bit I'll share with you. Not a lot. I haven't talked to the clerks or anybody, and the clerks tend to have a lot of different records, right, and a lot of that responsibility. But so at the core of our service is to come in, classify, sort, and identify those records, right? That's what we do. So we go through a box. We charge by the box to do that, by the way. Our services are by the box. It depends upon the fee for that depends on how many boxes. We're doing just a handful. It's a lot more expensive than we're doing hundreds or thousands of them. But we come in and we sort, classify, we put a label on that box, identify. Some institutions are pretty good about doing that internally. By the way, we're one of a kind. I go all over the US and talk about this stuff. We're the only people that I'm aware of that are the only company that does this records classification. There are a lot of people that scan records and a lot of people that shred records, but as far as the sorting and classifying, it's typically the institution that does it themselves, right? Or they don't do it very well and they end up calling us. And so they're either trying to do it themselves or they reach out to us to kind of help them do that sorting and classifying. But at the end of the day, what we do is we go through those boxes of inactive records, we sort them all out. I always pick a fictitious example of 100 boxes because you can kind of extrapolate that fairly easily. But if we were to come in and touch 100 boxes, it's not uncommon that when we go through those 100 boxes of inactive records that 40 to 60% of them are going to be eligible to be destroyed. They've already passed and exceeded any state retention requirements, so they can be destroyed and shred. The remaining 50, 40, 60% are going to have some interim level of retention or actually may be permanent. Right? And so we actually classify every box. When we're done, we're going to list those 100 boxes, everything that's in it by the state record series, most importantly when it's created and when it's eligible to be destroyed. Most institutions try to do that. For me, and I've talked to, literally thousands of clients. I've been for RCI for 13 years, so I've been doing this for a good long while now. I don't come from a records management background, but I've learned a lot about it. So most institutions are pretty good about kind of saying, well, these are accounting records or budget records or bond records or personnel, but they don't go as far as to put when that box is eligible to be destroyed. So kind of the end game of what happens is these institutions sit on records a lot longer than they have to. Causes issues about trying to reproduce records for FOIA requests. They run out of space, right? Then they're subject to losing the records in storms and hurricanes and fires and all the evils that happen in the world. So anyway, we come through, we sort through those boxes of records. We have 100 boxes. At the end of the day, we'll tell you that 46 of those are eligible to be destroyed. By the way, if you're just kind of interested in cost a little bit, our fees range somewhere from $30 to $40 a box. It used to be in the 20s, but everything's more expensive nowadays. So it's somewhere around $30 to $35 a box typically, right? So we come through and sort through those boxes. When we're done, we say, hey, these 48 boxes, 42 boxes are eligible to be destroyed. We actually can contact you and say, would you like us to pick those up and destroy them for you? So we do that destruction as well, at least in the state of Texas and kind of the surrounding states, New Mexico. We have shredding organizations in Arkansas and Arizona besides Texas, but we do the destruction as well. So that way when we come and pick up those 42 boxes, we can say, hey, here's the 100 boxes that RCI have touched and all the components of those boxes. And by the way, these 42 were destroyed on July the 1st of 2025. So it helps you keep a log, an inventory, which by the way, in the state of Texas, you are supposed to keep an inventory, which is something I'll kind of pose some questions for you guys here in a bit. But you should keep an inventory of all of your inactive records. It's in Schedule C, or excuse me, Bulletin C within TESLAC. Most institutions, unless they're working with us, don't have that. I walk into a city or a county, it's like, what records do you have? Like, I don't know. The records rooms over there, we got all those boxes, but they have no clue of what they is. They can't summarize it and tell you what they have. So we help with that because it is a component of your compliance that you're supposed to do. So then at the end of that, so when we do those 100 boxes, 42 eligible for destruction, you may have, some that are going to be eligible to be destroyed in 2026, 2027, and all that will be clearly laid out in the reports that we provide for the client. And inevitably, you'll have some permanent records, right? And I'll give you some example of permanent records here in a minute, but inevitably there will be some permanent records. Sometimes those do not live in the records that we're touching because they may be in filing cabinets. They may be the clerk's files, may not even be boxed up. They may be in shelving units in the clerk's office, or student files in the filing cabinets at the high school or something like that. So it's not always that we're touching those because they're kind of permanent, and most districts or most entities keep those kind of off of the regular records that kind of routinely cycle through. So that's our retention, our records retention processing is what we call that, okay? The destruction is purely that, we do shredding and destruction. And then we help entities scan and digitize their permanent records. Thought being, we're very cost conscious, as everybody is. Money's hard to come by, tax dollars are not. And so it doesn't make sense to digitize and go to a lot of effort to keep everything electronic when that record is going to be destroyed within a year or 2 years from now, right? Whether you're scanning it yourself, trying to incorporate it into some content management system, common sense, or I guess best practices, let that stuff cycle out and destroy it when you can, so you're not keeping stuff, right? So Tesla came out with these things, so you can't keep everything forever, right? You run out of space, right? So there's no need to keep everything. So that's why these rules are pretty well defined in Texas. By the way, other states aren't nearly as clearly defined as Texas. I mean, we're kind of fortunate in that, in the way that our rules and regulations are. So, at a high level, we do retention processing, we do destruction, and we do scanning, okay? So when we come to counties and what we find typically in counties, obviously the clerks tend to have the plethora of records in the case files, right? That's just kind of the largest, like in school districts, the largest group of records tend to be in student files, right? Student records. Cities have a
permanent file they were always talking about.
yeah.
Not that I would have ever been involved like that, but we're gonna put that in your permanent file. Now we know where that is.
Yeah. Well, that may or may not be kept, the good news, because there's only a few things that need to be kept in the student file. So for counties, right? Counties are a little bit different, right? And I won't, sheriff's in here, I don't know. Sheriff's office usually kind of beats their own drum a little bit on the record side.
Number two guys here.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Police, police departments and cities are kind of the same, and they kind of beat to their own drum, and their records management tends to be a little bit different. They have CJIS responsibility, so sometimes we come in and sometimes we're not even a part of the sheriff's office. But, and on the clerks, we don't really help them organize their records, because obviously at the clerks, at least in the county clerks, and I'll have a comment here in a minute, but county clerks have a whole lot of vital records and a lot of different records besides the case files, right? And I'm sure it's not lost on you gentlemen, but the records responsibilities that counties have is just massive, right? It is the history, right? Everything is in there. So it is a massive responsibility, and it's no surprise that you guys have a large amount of records, right? And you guys are a sizable county. I was out in Hudspeth County, I guess week before last or a couple of weeks ago, and they're a lot smaller out in West Texas near El Paso, and they don't have nearly the quantity of records that you guys have. So everybody's a little bit different in their components about how big the county is and how much population they have. But back to clerks. So clerks have their case files. We don't really play in those permanent records, vital records. We don't do records restoration or anything like that. We're not really that sophisticated. We help scan and keep records or convert paper records into electronic format so you can keep them in digital format. In the state of Texas, not every state does that, but in the state of Texas, you are able to keep electronic records as the copy of record. You're not required to maintain the physical paper copy if you have an electronic copy of that. So any record that in the record schedule that says permanent, you are eligible to keep it electronically. Right. You have to have some practices in place to make sure that those electronic records are safeguarded, right? You can't just be willy-nilly about it. And I know, like Dr. Brendan yesterday, so your IT department has a responsibility to make sure those things are safe and secure for posterity's sake, right? But you can keep records electronically in the state of Texas. So what we help clerks with most commonly is help them digitize and convert all those archives before they had the case management system, before they had their case management systems. We help them take those old case files and scan them into electronic format, and then they get rid of the paper because they're just busting at the seams of shelf space and filing cabinets and stuff. So that's where we tend to help the clerks. We really don't play in deed records and other minutes, probate minutes and things like that. We tend to just help do those case files, right? So records management is not a new thing, right? So there have been a lot of different entities in Texas and across the US that help convert those and put those things. When I went to your rooms over there, you have a lot of the binders that were, I don't know if it's CoFile or whoever helped you guys do that stuff, but a lot of that stuff is already bound and has been processed. I have some questions about whether you have it digitally and how do you have it electronically backed up. That wasn't, there's no way I can understand that, and I haven't talked to the clerk, so I don't know exactly what you guys have. But in the high level, those are the things that we help when we come into counties. I'll pick on one in south of San Antonio, Jim Wells County. They had a Bell's department store that they took over. It had 8,000 boxes of just hodgepodge of records strewn across the floor, kind of torn up and in a ratty condition. So over about 4 years, it ended up being about almost 9,000 boxes that we helped them over a 4-year period just for budgeting purposes, sort through, classify, get all cleaned up. I think 67% of that was eligible to be destroyed because they were old records that didn't have any long-term retention. So a little bit about what I have for you guys if I can get my computer to come back. So while I take a breath here, any questions kind of on what we do or?
How many records, how many boxes are we setting on over there in our storage?
That's what I do, a little bit of what I observed yesterday, okay? So I went to, Commissioner Beecham and Ricky took me to, well, first of all, here on the 4th floor, I guess you call it like JP1, JP offices up there, right? I counted, there's one room and a few rooms kind of adjacent to it, right? Up there were about 350 boxes in those combined offices, right? I'm not being the records expert, right? I can't just visually look at that and say, oh, that's a permanent record, that's a 5-year, that's what we do, right? That's why it takes us, we can go through 4 to 6 boxes an hour normally our records experts can to properly open it, sort it, classify it. They may take some out of this box and put it over here because at the end of the day, we're not going to build a half box since we charge by the box, right? So we'll go through and sort it all out and say, okay, this full box has maybe 2 record series, but it's eligible to be destroyed in 2025 or 2026. So up there, I think those boxes, I'm not really, from my perspective, I wasn't sure. Those probably could be properly sorted by retention so you know what has to be kept and what could be maintained. Some of them said claims, and there were some ticket books and some other things. But there were about 350 boxes up there. So when I got over to, I guess you call it the Linderman building? Yeah, by the museum, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? Have you guys been in there and seen all this? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to exclude the basement. I'll talk about that one in a minute. But just kind of in the, I guess it's on the 2nd floor, right? And so I did some counting. So in there, you had a bunch of the probate minute ledgers, right? Some were the very large format, they're like 20 by 14. I counted about 800 and somewhere around 800 of those ledgers, right? They're all about 900 pages each. Those are permanent records, have to be maintained permanently. I don't know.
Big books that.
Yeah, some of the really large, some of them are more 12 by 14 or 14 by 10, maybe something like that. So they're different sizes. Those standards kind of change over years by different companies. But so you guys have about 800 of those ledgers. It's probably about 750,000 images if that were needing to be scanned. If you guys didn't have that digitally done, that's about 750,000 images would be my ballpark of a guess in there. Then there were a bunch of drawers of property records. I don't know if you're kind of familiar with the room, but there are these small little cabinets, 2-drawer things, and they have these little maybe 8x6 index cards, and they're property records, lot records. It's by a block, right, and all the properties within that block. Those are permanent records. Most of those are handwritten cards, right? I don't know if those are archived by the county or not, but you had probably about 500 to 550 of those drawers, right? So I don't know how many pieces of parcels of land or property are defined in there, but if those were needing to be imaged and scanned and kept electronically, I'm guessing you have somewhere between 500 to 600,000 images in there. I'm giving you these counts so I can kind of, if they need to be scanned, and I don't want to be too presumptuous about what you guys have done and what's not done. I don't have that level of information yet, but there's about 550,000 images in there. Then there were, in a room that's kind of dark, Ricky was kind enough to shine a flashlight for me and show me around because there's no light, but there were a bunch of older records that looked to, some may have been already filmed or fished. I left a little bit out, so let me pause before I go there. So in test slack, right, microfilm and microfiche is a suitable archiving format, right? It's kind of a little bit archaic technology. Today everything's digital where you can get to it on the computer, microfilm and microfiche is more like a VCR, VHS kind of stuff, right? They really don't have those readers, so it's not as easy to find and retrieve. So we help a lot of clients who have taken their archives over time and put them into film or fiche, convert them out of microfilm or microfiche, and then put it into digital format to where you can access it from your computers. But it looks like, at least visually, just for me walking up, based on some of the markings on the boxes, some of that stuff may have already been scanned. But what I found in there were about 350 ledgers of tax rolls, which are permanent tax rolls, and then chattel mortgages from back in the day, right? Those go back into the late 1800s, early 1900s, right? There were 350 of those ledgers and chattel mortgage. That's probably about 300 images in those things. I would guess that those had been imaged just based on the way that they were arranged in the room. If they are, you guys kind of would have an undertaking to understand what you have electronically and where it sits. That's never easy for a county because obviously that happens over generations of folks.
Are you referring to that landslide effect? I think I know which one you're talking about.
Let me get my computer back here. Okay. And then also, there were a couple of locked rooms. I couldn't get into them necessarily. There was one room that had some JP case files, some juvenile, some other things, juvenile records, and I forgot.
Well, is there still an evidence room over there? That would be locked.
Yes,
Sure.
sir.
And that's stuff that's gotta be kept for, I think there's a kitchen door in there or something that we saw one
Kind of
time.
stuff in that room.
Yeah. That
So-
would probably be one of them.
There were about, I would estimate, shining, flashlight through the window and taking some pictures, there's probably 700, 800 boxes of case files between district clerk and county clerk, and a few JP case files in there as well. So that's probably about a million and a half images, somewhere in that range, if I had to extrapolate that, right? So those are the items that at least, oh, and by the way, I left out, then there were a large number, I don't know why I didn't put it here. There were a large number of deed ledgers. They were already boxed up, right? So when I looked at them, it appears that they were scanned. There were probably about 1100 to 1200 of those. Please don't hold me to these numbers exactly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give you a range. There were 11 to 1200 of these boxes of, they're probably a big ledger that's within a box, right? I didn't open any of the boxes. It's dusty, dirty, and dark, and I didn't mess with opening them, but I would assume that inside that box is one deed ledger. And there are over 11 to 1200 of those books in there. I would assume that those are scanned and probably somewhere already in film or fiche based on the label that I saw. So I really didn't include much about those in what I did. But if I exclude those and I took all of the rest of those things that don't really appear just visually, not having talked to the clerks or any of you guys about what you might have, that's probably, to get all that stuff digitized, if that's the way that the county chooses to go at some point, that's probably $750,000 to $1 million worth of work to get all that stuff digitized and to get it, put into electronic format. So it's not a small undertaking. So that's kind of what I found there, and I think that's, so then in the basement, just before I go there, so Rebecca was kind enough, I think my presence even made her nervous. She's like, records, what are you guys talking about? Are they gonna take away my records? So she got really nervous real quickly. But it's like, I'm just, looking at it. So I wouldn't presume that we would touch that. There would certainly be a lot of conversations with both of the clerks about what's in there, what they've done. But there are a lot of records in that basement, a lot more well organized than the stuff on that second floor. It's all dusty, dirty, and kind of left for the rodents. But in that downstairs, I would guess that there's probably 4,000 to 6,000 boxes of case files that are in there, and there's probably another 4,000 to 6,000 ledgers of minutes, probate minutes, and other things. So pretty large quantity of records, but I don't think that's where we would play. As I kind of started the conversation, those are some of the records that we really don't play in. It's mostly classifying that other stuff and helping you identify what you have to do with those things. Clerks are pretty good about knowing what their records are and what's permanent and keeping the vital stuff separate.
So you're saying that you wouldn't deal with the basement storage of records that we have over there?
I wouldn't prioritize that, I guess is the way to say that, right? Because those are, first of all, they're in a climate control, they're in good space, you can find them, retrieve them, in the event, right? So they're manageable, they're in a manageable state right now.
It's that stuff upstairs that's
Yeah,
Right. But
question mark.
yeah, I just don't know, and I don't have any feel for how we destroy records that have aged out? Are we keeping everything that makes it over there to the basement?
I've never seen anything taken out, we'll put it
No.
that way.
Right, yeah.
We had.
Most stuff
we got
goes
our-
in, not a lot output.
We've got our clerk here. We've had an ongoing scanning program, have we not, year in and year out for the last, I think, cause I remember Lori coming and that'd be part of our budget process. And I don't remember exactly what we were scanning, but are we continuing that?
All our deed records are scanned, everything that's in OPR are
Mhm.
indexed. They're just not out to the public yet because they're not indexed.
Okay.
And that's one of the projects I have ongoing right now, it's our deed records are being indexed, so they can go out to the public.
Right.
So that's
It
ongoing
seemed
right
like
now.
we were doing so many a year and moving forward, I guess, as they reach that.
And then that, what's the correlation between having those, recorded correctly and destroying the records that are over there in the Linderman?
Well, anything prior, 1915 and prior was permanent, we cannot destroy those are historical, so we can, how do you say, go with a company to bind them and keep them where they don't get older or destroyed. But anything after 1950, we can destroy.
But if I had a
You mean
request,
prior to 1950 or?
Prior to 1950,
Okay.
we cannot destroy.
and so if I had a
Why
request.
are we able to get, I'm just curious.
T-SLAC, that's the law.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the-
So there's a little bit, and by the way, so we work closely with TESLAC, so I don't want to overstate my knowledge of this, right, but we
No, that's
talk to them
fine.
constantly, so, there's a kind of a debate, right, so they have this thing, locks, I think is, I wrote it down because I always forget it and when I say it, but, lots of copies keep stuff safe. It's part of their presentations, it's part of what they teach their entities, and they do trainings for all local governments, right? They have training sessions constantly. So the ongoing, I say debate, not clear is, you can keep it electronically, when she's saying you can't destroy it, but once you keep it electronically, you have it for posterity's sake. So there is a contingency that says, no, I have it in electronic format, so I'm not gonna keep that physical paper. There are other people that say, no, I wanna keep the paper and we need to keep the paper. I'm not trying to be an authority on that, that's just.
Now, what type of records are you speaking about? I mean, I'm talking about OPR, official public records, anything 1950 and prior we can't destroy, but I think in criminal we can.
In criminal the same way, 50 is still prior to 50 is still a permanent record. I'm talking about whether you have to maintain it, right? But the question I'm trying to indicate is maintaining it in electronic copy sufficient versus having to keep the physical
original
paper
binder.
there?
So
And that's a
you're
Tesla.
saying that it may be able to be retained digitally
Right.
and be the old
Okay.
paper copy destroyed?
And that's a decision that boards and
Yeah.
commissioners' courts and stuff make as an entity to say that, right? You have, each of you are your RMO, but that's not for us to clarify with you. That's really a test, that's between you and TESLAC and you as a governing body.
Well, another challenge we've had, now, Will, we've been in that process of scanning those records in for the new software.
Yes.
And I kind of remember saying we were moving along pretty good on
We,
that.
at one point, a few years ago, we had 2 rooms at the annex that were full. I know year before last, we did away with like 400 boxes. Historically, when we store stuff, we put the date range that what's in that box, and then we put when it can
Yeah.
be destroyed. So we've done a pretty good job of staying on top. We're down to just a small area now.
But we need to have that done to incorporate it into the software deal, Brendan, in that, when we changed software, we had to scan it in, it has to be done a certain way, and I don't know all the technicalities, but
We're down to just a handful.
Rich is really better
60
progress
boxes
than
and
we
stuff.
thought we would have on that. And, but I remember her talking about that when we were here just a few months ago, so we got criminal, and we've got deed records, and we've got, oh gosh, I guess.
All
Civil,
kinds of stuff on the
probate,
second
family,
Probate.
yeah, I mean,
Mental health.
health, right,
Just
property.
stuff.
You know, you were talking about the microfiche, and just a comment, because I've always wondered this. I can go home to my office and reach up on the shelf, and I've still got some floppy disks stacked up there. I don't know why, but I do. And my question to you is, how are we gonna guarantee that we've got the technology to access those records 50 years from now? Because this technology's moving a lot, that's always troubled me. Now, a piece of paper, you know, I can open that book up and read it, but I've got stuff right now that I can't access because I don't have that drive anywhere to get that done. How are we dealing with that?
Good question. So, TESLAC has a Bulletin B. It's Electronic Records Bulletin. It has to do with maintaining records electronically. First of all, if an entity is going to keep records electronically, they have to have two things on file with the state. First of all, you have to have an electronic records policy, which the state really defines for you. And the second thing is you have to have a certification that you're going to comply with that policy. So it's really pretty much defined. So if you're going to keep, you don't have to keep records electronically, right?
Yeah,
you can
right.
keep them film, fish, paper, whatever. But if
But
you're
when
going to
your
keep them,
buildings are full, it's not a bad idea,
yeah, it becomes almost a necessity. But
Get another container,
more filing cabinets, more containers, more buildings. So there, in that Bulletin B, it does define practices about what's supposed, it can't be in a proprietary format, right? So archiving formats are really two things. One, TIFF files, a TIFF image file, right? And then the second is a PDF. Everybody's familiar with a PDF, but it's called an archive PDF. They are lenient, so most people keep them in just regular PDF format. But how are you supposed to keep those? A lot of, the issue with film and fish is film deteriorates,
They
right?
deteriorate.
Just like a CD disc, or
Wouldn't microfiche
all that
also?
stuff deteriorates over time. So it's incumbent upon your IT resources to make sure that it's in a current medium. It has to be in a non-proprietary medium, and it has to be updated and refreshed in whatever the current technology of the day. So you're supposed to touch it and refresh it within every 7 years, I think is what it
I've
says.
seen some microfiche that wasn't very good when it was new.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
less 30 or 40 years later.
So,
Interesting.
so when you start talking about how you're going to maintain it electronically, it's a pretty big undertaking to make sure that you have it safeguarded, right? Typically, you're going to involve some form of cloud storage offsite. Some will have, they'll have it locally. We have a little Port Aransas ISD down near the coast near Port Aransas, and they had all their stuff locally. We had scanned a lot of their student records and archives. They had one of the hurricanes like 4 years ago come through, and it flooded their servers, and they lost all the data, right? They lost it because they didn't have it, and they were between backups. So evils can happen, so it just talks to the importance of making sure that you have, if it is your copy of record, and that is your permanent archive, you gotta go through some pretty rigorous steps to make sure that it's safeguarded, right?
Well, Brennan is the backup king.
You got it covered.
Yeah, he's the backup guy.
You
So,
always have a water pipe cut and flood all of
Yeah,
our
we've
records.
experienced a little of that here in the dry southwest. We've
But-
had a little trouble with that.
Annette, are you saying that all that 1950 and prior has never been scanned in?
No, all our deed records are scanned in.
From inception?
So everything that's over at the Lindemann,
It's scanned in, it's just not out to the public. We have it on an FS2 drive.
so
Right now.
we're just holding those boxes of records at the Lindemann for posterity? We don't need to hold those?
Well, if you have
that's the
a-
question.
That's
And that's
the
what I would
question.
encourage you
What-
guys to talk with TESLAC to say, do we need to keep that?
Well, in this instance, if she's got them scanned in, can you utilize that scan to transfer them to a digital format?
Oh, sure, yes, sir, yes, right.
You don't
They're-
have
they're
to
already
physically
digital.
go
It's
through.
already-
Yeah, it's already, I think
it's
she already
already-
has it in electronic
So-
format, that's what I'm
We're
understanding.
haphazardly storing them, stacked up?
Anything 1950 and prior, all my indexes are there. I don't wanna get rid of indexes just for research purposes.
And what do you mean by indexes?
It has a list of what occurred with each property or document. It's an index where you can research. And then at that time, they used to write an index, you research, and you pull the document itself.
So if
I
you
don't
had,
have the documents, I just have
Yeah.
indexes.
if you had a FOIA request, would you go to an electronic deal or would you go look in the boxes?
But what kind of
A
request?
FOIA request of some
We go,
kind.
we look it up digitally. If we don't have it digitally, then I'll go to indexes.
So both. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So it's back to
So you
that,
can do that, if somebody comes and wants it, you can pull it up digitally and I guess make a copy of it. And
Yes.
okay, that's interesting.
it's basically redundancy, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, I said, the locks thing, right? Lots of copies keeps things safe. is kind of their strategy. But, I mean, that's for the entity to decide, do we have the money, the means, the storage, and the
Yeah.
capability to do that, and how are we going to do that? So that's why we just encourage that question between, Tesla and you guys say, do we absolutely have to, in the letter of the law, keep it physically in paper form on top of
Right.
keeping it digitally? And once you know that, then you kind of have a thing. I did see down in the basement with Rebecca, there was quite a few boxes, and each box probably had maybe 150 rolls of microfilm in there. And I didn't count the boxes because she was a little bit nervous, and I didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So there were, I don't know, 20, 30 boxes, maybe more, 50 boxes of film. So there's a good amount of stuff that already has been filmed and has been done. So some questions, I'll get out, you guys can ask me more some questions if you guys have, but just a few things to get out of you guys here. At a macro level, when I come in and talk about this, is, what is the counties? As I said, each one of you guys is an elected official. You kind of have your own thing, but if you consolidate that and think, what is the electronic strategy? What do we want to do? What are the records? How do we want to keep it? Where do we want to keep it, right? The more that you can consolidate that, at least what I would call best practices. I walk into cities and counties, and they have stuff strewn over, and this department has their stuff here, and this department has their stuff there, and they have no idea. One elected official goes, or one administrator retires or leaves, they struggle to find stuff. And that's what not to do. What to do is not so easy to say, how do we get all that stuff? What is our strategy to keep all that stuff to where we don't have to go through that dusty room? If I do have a FOIA request, where is it, who has it, and how do we make sure that's documented for the next generation of leaders and stuff that come through the county, right? So what is that strategy? That's something that you guys probably need to spend some time, and it could be IT and your clerks, and who that is, that's for you guys to kind of work with. We could obviously help, but we're not consultants. We would just sit in and monitor, but.
Yeah,
I
I
can
know
sit
my goal in reaching out to you was to clear off that second floor at the Lindeman.
Yeah.
It's haphazard at best.
Mhm.
I need to know if we're gonna build a permanent storage facility for all that, what space do I need to bring all those documents into one location and store them properly?
Well, there's something to be said about shrinking your footprint.
Yes, I think we can shrink it
Yeah.
considerably and consolidate it into one much smaller area and have better control over it.
Well, but I don't wanna get into a thing where now we have 2 record buildings to maintain.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
not saying 2
yeah.
record buildings, but we've got space.
Well, I know, but I want out of the basement.
Yeah.
I'd like to get out of the basement too.
Well, the discussion has been is maybe changing the future of that building over there.
Mhm.
And to do that, then you've gotta have all this record stuff out of the way before you can make that decision. Because right now, there are rules to follow, laws to follow, and Mel doesn't like it when we go against the system. But seriously, you wanna get it in order, and you wanna be responsible. And I think that's kind of what we were interested in, is what are the possibilities?
So, in your estimate, projects, you've done projects similar to this in the past with your counties. What are we looking at if we were to do it like a 4-year project, 5-year project?
Yeah, it's multi-million, right? Several million probably to get all that stuff. But I think you gotta ask the question, and I'm sorry, I'm sorry. your name?
Annette.
That Annette is alluding to, I think you have to ask yourself, what are those targets that we're going to keep electronically, and what are the things that we're comfortable with putting those in electronic format and making sure that we have IT and have those backed up? And are there some records that we physically want to keep redundant paper copies of, right? I think that's a question that, among you guys, you need to answer that question. Once you know that, then you can kind of decide, okay, what are those things? We don't need, those deed books are done, we can get rid of them, we don't need to have space. So then it can kind of help you what kind of space we have and what we're determining.
But I would assume that's Annette's responsibility to decide what that system will be, what functions and what.
She's her own
doesn't.
RMO.
She took the oath
Right.
to take care of
Yeah.
that, so she would have to be integrally, into that plan.
Exactly, and then saying, okay, yeah, I want to keep them, we feel obligated, or we have the necessity to keep it in paper, but then that leads into the county's big picture and say, where are we gonna put
Yeah.
them, right? Where is that gonna
Well,
physically be stored, how's it gonna be stored and maintained?
I think that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
We're looking at a better solution than what we have right now.
So what do you have to do, Chris, to get a pinpoint, price for us to come in and actually review what we've got, what we're setting on, categorize it as it needs to be categorized, and then give us a price for, that consultation before we push go?
It's really not a consultation, that's just kind of what we do. It's really, what we need to do is understand how much of what, the quantities of each of the different things, and it's best to break it down, departmentally.
Yeah,
Okay, sit with the county clerk and say, okay, what do you have, what do you have already in electronic format? What don't you have in electronic form? Do you even know what you have, right? And that's one of my questions is, and without an inventory and a complete listing, I know she's talking about indexes, right, which is great. I mean, there are a lot of indexes in the minutes, right? There's a lot of that stuff that's indexed. But there's always, seems to be, from personal experience, there's a little bit of a doubt because you haven't been here for the 100 years the county, or however long the county's been along,
Well,
right?
You change teams every once in a while.
And so
you know,
there's a little bit of an issue to try to say, I know that I have this, here's the gray area. And so it's working with each of the different departments and officials to understand what do we know absolutely and concretely, and then the other stuff, then you have to make a decision and you quantify what that is in the amount of time, labor, effort, and what you wanna do with it. So it's not a very, it's an honest, straight answer. It's not probably as defined as you'd like, but you kinda have to sit down and go through, spend time, and it's not her only thing that she has to do in the world, right? But you gotta go through those exercises, and that'll probably take, time all to its own.
You gotta make a plan, basically.
You have to make a plan.
Get all the players on board and get everybody taken care of. And I think we come up with a plan, it's those millions that we're kind of a little.
I know that district
Maybe a
clerks,
little
there
light
are
on
funds,
that,
there are funds that are provided. District clerks get some level of funds to, for records management that
Yeah.
comes through state security. I don't know, I'm not not all that knowledgeable, but I know there are funds that are provided and trying to utilize those funds. And then you can actually recoup some of that. I know a lot of the stuff, and you're talking about making them electronically available. So when people do have requests, it's for a fee, because you're paying to have all that stuff digitized. You don't have to digitize it. You can keep it all in paper format. But, for you to kind of absorb that cost of getting it to digital format, you kind of pass that on back to the citizenry. You say, hey, if you have those records requests, it's gonna be $5, $4, whatever it takes to,
Well, there's a cost of having it sitting around and occupying space.
They all
That's not free. We don't think of it that way because it's not necessarily a cash flow outlay, but there is a cost. So, it's interesting.
So I think that my last thing is, how do you identify what you have across the departments? What has already been scanned? What format is it in? Which items are just in paper? Which items are in paper and another format, digital and or electronic? And you get all that mapped out, and then you can solve the question that you asked me about how big is that endeavor. Another thing, just my last comment, so when I counted all those, back to what I said, that in Bulletin C, which says that entities are supposed to keep an inventory of their inactive records, right? And that can look like a lot of different things to different entities, but you're supposed to keep a listing of those inactive records, right? By the ledger, by the box, it tends to be fine, not file by file, not page by page, but you're supposed to keep an index of what you have. I don't know, if you have that, that might be, a starting spot in there, right? But that's not inexpensive all to its own. I did just some math I kind of threw together. So based on all the boxes, all those things that I looked, just not counting the basement, but just on that second floor, right? Between the ledgers, the deed books that are already scanned, which you may get to exclude those, but that's probably about 3,000 items, not even counting those drawers, those little property drawers, right? That's probably about 3,000 items that you would actually kind of have to index to say, here's our inventory of what we got, right? When we get it boxed up or whatever, that's somewhere in the tune. Just if we were to do that work, which is what we do help with, that's one of the things that we do, that's probably $100,000 to $150,000 worth of work, because it's a lot of pieces, it's a lot of time just in that one thing.
And what do we have when you get through doing that?
Like if I were to ask you how many deed books you have today, how many tax rolls you have, how many property records you have, I don't think.
No clue.
I don't know if anybody can answer that, right? That's what you would get, right?
Right.
It's not the image of it, it's not the scan, it's not gonna show you what's on the page, but at least you're starting with, let's identify what we have here to where we can get our hands around it. And so that might be,
Starting point.
Yeah.
Starting place.
Sounds like it could be kind of a multi-year project to go in and get it up and set. I don't think this is something you'd wanna bite off in one
No,
bite.
I think it's an ongoing, long-term project
Yeah,
to clear it out.
because you'd have to have staff involved that,
Obviously.
Oh, yeah.
you know, that
IT has to be
help make
involved.
the decisions.
Yeah,
and-
right.
Interesting. Any other questions, comments?
Glad you came.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It's not a comfortable subject for sure, cause it's a lot of money, but it's something that we definitely need to look into.
Yep.
All right, Jim, thank you guys for having me, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chris,
Appreciate-
thank you.
Appreciate you
Appreciate
coming
it.
down and appreciate you walking around yesterday and
Yeah.
looking at our
Thank you
problem.
much for showing me around. All right, if you guys have questions,
Oh, I'm
I'll be
sure
in
we
touch
will.
and see what follow-up actions there are.
We will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on, item number 2, Ian's in. Ian, how you doing this morning?
Very good, sir, how are you?
Account manager on, or on the, he's with Hicks.
Good morning, everybody.
Y'all do all kinds of plating, and I've got some powder coat stuff that came out of that shop out there that really worked out great. And, y'all do a lot of that kind of stuff though, but you also
Coatings.
have got protective products, and that's what we wanna talk about today.
Correct. Yeah, we've done work for the county in the past. The law enforcement center, we've done some work down there.
Right.
We've got some work with Ricky here coming up next, the first week of August in the jail cells. But here we're talking about today is the steps in the front of the courthouse.
Super.
So we've already submitted a proposal, gave it to Ricky, and the feedback was he wanted more information on the product itself. So I brought in Giovanni Silva, he's our product specialist with our manufacturer. He's got a PowerPoint, we can go over all that. I've got some physical samples for you to look at and answer any questions you guys may have.
Excellent.
So how do we hook up a PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, we, yeah.
gentleman right there will help you.
Brandon will get that
It's actually
going.
supercomputer here.
You know, one of the questions I think that we had when we were discussing this is certainly the durability and how it responds to, you know, the UV rays, the sun, you know, the sun's brutal,
It is.
as you well know.
It is.
That was kind of, I think, one of our questions, is to, you know, we've got to get something to stop. This old concrete is leaking, and we've got to get it stopped.
That's
It's
the biggest
gonna
thing is the
continue to
moisture.
deteriorate.
Absolutely.
It's
And what the
beginning to
appearance
rust the
is gonna
rebar.
be.
I'm sorry, Mickey, go ahead.
And what the appearance is gonna be.
So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I've got some samples to show you guys.
Oh,
here.
excellent.
We'll go over this.
Even better.
If you want to pass this along.
Excellent.
And then I've also brought along, there's case studies and product in here as well as a data sheet, so you guys can show this as well. We'll cover it in the PowerPoint. There's another piece of material for you.
It's precision.
Yeah.
Different. I'm sure that.
Hand that down there to Morgan, let her look at it.
It's probably this, it's probably a lot more suede, but it won't be.
Pretty grippy.
And certainly, we want it to be durable, but it does, the appearance does matter, because, you know, it's gonna kind of showcase the outside of this building, and we're trying
And do
to.
these only come in gray?
Gray and tan, what other colors do we offer?
So it comes in different shades of gray, tans, different shades of tans, and if you want other colors, I mean, we could make it work.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm with Giovanni. I'm with Polycoat Products. So we're a local manufacturer. We're headquarters based out of Southern California, but we have our hub here in Bedford. So we have about 350,000 square feet of manufacturing there. So what I specialize in is the waterproofing division. I cover the south central U.S., so 6 states and parts of Mexico. So part of what I do is I work with architects, I work with contractors, consultants, distributors, like everybody who's involved in any aspect of traffic coatings. And so essentially what we do, we manufacture, like I said, in Bedford. That's actually the headquarters in Southern California, and that's in Bedford. We have both those facilities there, and that's kind of an idea what we have inside. We toll blend, we manufacture everything in-house. Everything is made there. We're not slapping a label on a bucket and saying this is ours. We actually do manufacture everything. We cover this map has kind of grown a little bit because now I have Kansas, Missouri, but it just lets you know we have representation everywhere. We're all over the U.S. and we do send these products also internationally. So it's not just something that's just local. We do it everywhere, all over the world. We do have a sales team, Giovanni Silva, so South Central Waterproofing. I cover that area there, my contact information, and yeah, I'm not gonna go through the whole presentation because it's a lot. It's a lot of what we do. But what I did want to highlight is on what TW Hicks will be using. And we have a system that I proposed to them. And it starts with the base coat. So we have our base coat is going to be the PC220 primeless. And we decided to go something more economical for you guys. So there's different variations, different systems. You could beef it up. You could go something more standard and it still function the way it needs to. So on the skin sample, there's a light gray one there. So that is, essentially, that's your elastomeric base membrane.
Are you talking about the thin one right here?
Well, he's
This
got-
one
he's
right
got
Oh, this?
Yeah, you can actually physically
The
feel it.
rubber.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's the
okay.
rubber. So it comes in a liquid form. So once the contractors go out and mix up the bucket, pour it out, squeegee, back roll it, and it cures out, it's basically a tough rubber. That's what's protecting the substrate, the concrete, and not allowing anything to penetrate into the concrete. So that's the first step right there. And so as you can tell, it's tough. You can stretch it. It moves with the concrete. If it shrinks, it contracts. All that is gonna do that with the concrete. And any cracks or anything that's already existing, that's always gonna be addressed before. But that's essentially your safety right there.
Now, what happens if I got this applied and we've gotta move an old-timey safe out the doors and I cut that line?
So that does happen sometimes with gouging, but there is a top coat that goes over that. So the top coat is where you see the sand. So the base coat is
Oh, that's the base.
that's the base coat. Yeah,
Okay,
that's just the
gotcha.
base coat. That's what protects from any water leakage. So that would be the PC220 PL. It's economical, moisture cured. It's about an average of 16-hour cure time. So going with this type of system, you're kind of at the mercy of the humidity of the weather. So depending on how hot it is, it determines how quickly it's going to cure. Well, there is options for faster cure if you want to get this done quicker, where it'll dry out in like 2 to 4 hours versus 16 hours. But we go with the economical version. That way we could stay in the budget.
And how thick will that layer that we put down be as thick as that sample?
At the end, when it's said and done with the sand broadcast, and if you want to beef it up that way, you can. It'll be slightly thinner, but it still works just as great. So, I mean, this system, and then, before I jump ahead.
Maybe the thickness of a credit card in total.
Okay.
Yeah. The top coat, and I'll show the whole system how it's built up. The top coat it's a polyglaze AL50. That is the same thing. Moisture cured straight out the bucket, pour it out, and they apply the top coat. And that's going to be your wear coat. That's what's going to withstand the traffic, people coming in and out. If you do roll something on there, that's what's going to protect the membrane. Now, if you do have gouges or anything like that happens, it needs to be addressed because it's not like an epoxy where it's very rigid and it's tough like that. It's quite the opposite. It's not as brilliantly tough as a polyaspartic or an epoxy, but it does have the flexibility and the protection you do need. So this system is designed not only for pedestrian traffic but vehicular. And so you'll see that a lot of that out there. You may not look at it, but it's always out there. But if you drop a hammer for like 20 feet up, there will be a gouge, and we need to address it. Just have to let them know, hey, this is what happened. They need to come repair it. That way it doesn't compromise the rest of the coating. If you're to go with something rigid, you're going to have stress cracks. The same cracks you see on concrete, you'll see on epoxy. So that's why you want to kind of stay on this course of elastomeric.
We would probably be surprised if we knew how much expansion we had in these large step areas from this morning to about 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, you're never gonna stop that.
It's
Yeah,
gonna
we wanna
move.
move with
Yeah.
it. We're not trying to hold it down. We're trying to move it
Yeah.
with the floor.
So you don't want it rigid, and
Absolutely
yeah,
not.
Exactly.
it's gonna move. They told us that old jail, the old building out there, they said that it had over a foot of expansion.
Oh.
You think about that, guys, that's
That's
a
massive.
lot of movement, and
So-
it'll amaze you how much that stuff
We
moves
can't
around.
stop Mother Nature from moving, so it's gonna do it no matter
Right.
what.
Everything two-part, basically.
Correct, except for the single component top coat.
Well, this is all single component, but the elongation on these products are about 450 to 500% elongation. So it's going to contract really well. And like I mentioned, parking decks is one of the biggest things that we use this on. That flexes so much, it moves completely, so it just moves with it. So that's the beauty of using elastomeric.
And to answer your earlier question, it is UV stable. It's not gonna ever.
Yeah,
over time.
that's a big deal in
Yeah.
this, as you
Oh,
know.
absolutely.
And what about prep? Ian, what are you thinking about prepping this old concrete?
Oh,
So
we'll
it's-
get there.
Yeah,
It's in there.
good, good. That's-
Yeah.
To
So-
me, that's usually a big deal.
That's
It's a
90%
huge-
of what we do is on
Yeah,
the road.
that's
Absolutely.
the huge
Yeah.
deal. So signs of issues on the first picture on your left, that is a coating that was there and it started to wear out. They neglected it, so it got down to the concrete. Now you see the concrete and you have exposed aggregate. So now this is a very porous concrete. You have water going in there penetrating, and then you'll get cracks. The next one over, the third one, is where a crack went all the way through the slab, and now you can see it underneath. Now you got calcium deposits, and you got all basically everything's going through. The biggest issue with that is now you're creating a structural issue. So that's why it's the importance of having some kind of coating on there and maintaining it. These are all other issues that happens when you don't have it or neglect it. The importance of this is not just under parking structures, but also when you have occupied space. This the third picture is inside of an office building. You got all the condensation coming through. You got leaks going through. So it's just the whole purpose of this is just to protect occupied space.
Kind of reminds me of Melvin's office when
Yeah,
he was
sure
down in
enough.
the basement. Kind of the same deal.
Now, the system that we're proposing is the Polytech 145. This is what we call our VE option. So the base coat, they're gonna apply at 50 square feet per gallon, which is about 22 mils. And then after that, they're gonna apply the top coat Polyglaze AL50 at 80 square feet per gallon. At that point, they're gonna broadcast the sand. It's a dry kiln, rounded sand. They'll broadcast into it and then back roll and cross roll to encapsulate the sand. That's what gives you your non-slip. Now, so on those, you should be able to see, yeah, you see the sand on there. That's basically what your finish is gonna look like.
The heavy aggregate.
You could go heavier. Yeah, there's different options where you could go completely beach it.
Just be mindful, the heavier we go, the harder it's gonna be to clean. It's that kind of fine line where we're anti-slip, but we still can clean it properly.
I'd rather easier to
Would
clean
that
than turn
smooth
those
be,
trees out.
of course, that's the base coat, I understand.
If we wanna go to
When
the
wet,
full
would that be
broadcast, that's
slick?
what it
Oh,
would
yeah,
look.
absolutely.
Yeah, cause it feels tacky,
Yeah.
right now, but you get it wet.
Yeah, so we'll definitely want to.
Lubricates it and-
Yep.
Yeah, so there's different versions of what kind of aggregate we're looking at. If you want to just do a semi-broadcast back row encapsulate, you could do that, or you go for a full broadcast where you're covering the entire surface with sand and then encapsulating with the third coat.
Well, considering we don't have any foot traffic on this nowadays,
Yeah, so
it's setting, if you go that full, I think you're gonna have more trouble with those pecan trees. That's settling in there and harder to clean for maintenance.
yeah, because then you get the power wash. But that's why I also kind of went with the whole like a mile broadcast, because you don't have a lot of traffic there. But you also don't, when you do decide to have traffic or open up those doors, you want to make sure it's non-slip, especially in the winter.
Well, it's an emergency exit, and of course, maintenance, you guys have to get on it every once in a while, but we don't have daily foot traffic.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we decided to go with this system, where you don't need a robust system. You just need something to protect and an aliphatic top coat with something that's non-slip. Preparation, you mentioned how do you prepare it.
Yeah.
There's two ways to do it. The shot blasting is one way to go, but that's a little too aggressive for what's going on here. More like just grinding. Your typical grind will be the proper way to go. The one on the right, the left is a shot blasting. On the right is a concrete grinder, 30-inch grinder. So that's typically the way that you'll prep it. You want to create a profile on the concrete to open up those pores. That way, whenever you put your base coat, it penetrates into it and it grabs on and locks in.
Gives it tooth.
There you go. So that's the most important thing. That is that and addressing cracks. Any kind of cracks that you see need to be addressed and detailed. If you have a crack, you have to open it up. Put some polyurethane sealant. Use polyurethane because it also flexes and is part of the same technology as what's going to be applied afterwards. And then you'll do a detailed coat right over that. On the next one, you'll see the PC260 being applied. You'll see how they addressed the cracks there previously, and then they were able to go ahead and go over with the
We
base
kind of
membrane.
pre-treat them and then
We'll
come
fill
up
them,
with
then
Yeah.
overfill them, grind them smooth, and put our base coat on top of that.
So that reinforces the cracks and also doesn't allow you to telegraph in the future. A lot of times you'll see the coatings down there and you'll see the cracks telegraphing. We wanna avoid that because now it looks bad.
Sure.
Doesn't look great down the line.
Sure.
On the right, so on the left, obviously that's a parking garage. So it just shows you the magnitude of where we put this type of coating. The one on the right, that's actually the Collin County Technical College. We did all the sky bridges from building A to B, C, and D. All three of those were done with the same product. And so essentially what they'll do is squeegee the material on there, back roll, cross roll, they use a notch squeegee. The notch squeegee lets them know how much material is being left behind. And you're basically gauging everything along the way. So every 1,000 square, you want to put a mill gauge on there and make sure that you get that same thickness all the way through.
And squeegee kind of planes it out, doesn't it?
Yeah, there'll be high spots and low spots and burn that, so we get a consistent coating across, and then back roll to even flatten out even further.
And then at the end, the backward cross roll just to make sure it's self levels, but just to make sure it looks cleaner. And then that is the Polyglaze AL50 is the top coat. Same operation. They're gonna go out there with the notch squeegee. They're gonna squeegee and then backward cross roll. And then that's the same technical college, and that's basically how it looks finished. They'll broadcast the sand in there, and then, like I said, just broadcast the sand, back row, cross row, and you'll get that texture
Same
finish.
setup time on the base and the top coat?
Yes.
So you let one cure out and then come back with the top coat?
Yes, and then there's a window that they have to stay within. They can't just show up a week later and be like, oh, okay, let me go ahead and do this, because then you'll miss that recoat window and you'll start delaminating.
And we've got a schedule for 4 days for the entire job for both sets of steps.
Yeah.
So the same product, the same system we're talking about right now was used, or is being used on senior living centers, residential. That's a multifamily on the left. On the right, it's just an extension of a house. They just built up a new, I think it was like a gym or something. They just built it up. And once again, staircases, parking garages. So it's everywhere. Parking decks. So you're not just getting, even though like I mentioned, it's a V option, it's still a really great system overall. We've used it for anything and everything, staircases and parking decks.
So it doesn't tire mark? I've seen that in some things, down the road.
Yeah, if you go light, it will. But it's all because of hot tire pickup. The tires are hot, they come up and they will do that. But they will withstand. We always try to encourage people to go darker. But pedestrian, everybody usually goes light. It's not a big deal.
But we're not gonna drive any buses.
Yeah, you're not good.
If we do that, we've got other problems. Yeah, we do that.
Well, and the biggest thing is gonna be to avoid that moisture intrusion down below.
Yeah.
That's the
Right.
biggest
That's-
issue we're gonna solve with this.
That's the
product.
goal.
Yeah, just to eliminate whatever damage has already been done. They'll have to go back in and address all those cracks that are there, make sure those are all treated before they go back and install the membrane. And that will eliminate all the issues. As far as the longevity of the product, how long it's gonna last, with the minimal traffic that you're having, it's gonna last like 10+ years.
Well, the aesthetics of it are
10
important
plus.
because it
10
is the
plus
outside.
years.
of
Yeah,
the
it'll last a
building.
very
It's
long time.
The whole
So-
project's really a protection deal. That's where the emphasis is, but
And
it's
over
gotta look
time-
good too.
Yeah, the foot traffic will wear down, some will kind of wear down some of the top coat. We can come back in 5-10 years, just sand and recoat the top coat.
Oh,
Like a
okay.
maintenance.
So it's not a full reapplication?
No, absolutely not.
You don't have to strip it all down and start over?
It's like a wax for your car, just kind of redoing the top coat.
Yeah, and if there's gouges, that needs to be addressed. Let them know like, hey, we gouged this and what's going on, because I know that you guys are gonna have construction on the what is it called? The face of it. Remind me what
The facade.
the facade. There we go.
Yeah.
So when that happens, if there is damages, let them know like, hey, we gouged it here and there. They need to fix that, and then just basically just patch it out. And like I said, it should last as long as, with the very light traffic, it's gonna last a very long time. Now, if you start getting heavy traffic or whatever reason it starts to wear down, we'll see that, we'll evaluate that, and we take record of every job that's being done, especially when it's, the state or high-profile jobs. We'll keep records of that, because the same way he's providing a warranty, we have to provide a warranty for him as well.
Mhm.
So that's why the guide specifications that we give him, they have to kind of abide by that. That way we can issue the warranty as well through our end to him.
And we work closely together as a manufacturer and installer. He will be there to make sure we're installing them correctly. So
Basically, we're probably dealing more with sun and rain than we are foot traffic
Yeah,
or anything.
we're not
Yeah.
zero
Yeah.
foot traffic to speak of. So.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
UV warranty is what? How long?
Same. Well, for mine,
What's the same? I didn't hear you
sorry.
say. Is it 10
So
years?
on ours, we start off on pedestrian traffic at 5 years. That's our standard, 5 years.
Okay.
And so as far as the UV, the top coat is it's UV stable. It's not gonna fade.
If you have issues in 5-10
And
years,
I've had
we're
some-
gonna honor that, cause it's not gonna fade.
Okay, next question is any kind of, since this is basically like a rubber membrane, if you have any edges that start to peel up from that concrete that lose adhesive, what kind of warranty does that have on it?
If it's the concrete, that's
No,
not an issue.
I mean,
with
not
coating.
if there are products coming off that concrete, you've prepped the concrete, you've installed it.
If we prep
If it starts to peel any kind of edges, is that warranted?
if it's not an issue, if it's workmanship, that's covered, but if it's something within the concrete, the slab, that's not covered.
Yeah.
But if it's
And-
prepped properly, it's not gonna cover.
That's part of the whole deal. We have a whole different presentation on cohesive bonding, and that's the example that we use, that when the concrete's being prepped properly and you have the membrane penetrate and grab on it, it's not gonna lift.
Well, that concrete was put in way before any of us
Yeah,
were
of
here.
course.
So,
It's over 100 years old.
Yeah.
the deal is, I mean, the reason I asked that is, before you install it, we can't really, you're gonna prep the concrete to where it is sufficient.
Oh, 100%.
So there won't be an issue. You can't come back later and say, well, that concrete wasn't doing good.
Yeah, no.
You see what I'm saying?
We're gonna address it all at that moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't just set on the concrete, it's a physical.
It dives
bond.
into the concrete, yeah.
It goes into
That's
the,
why we create those
into-
profiles, so it actually dives and grabs on the concrete. If we peeled it off, it's gonna pull the concrete off and not the
Yeah,
coating.
That's basically, I mean, there's more to this presentation, but it probably doesn't, pertain to this. But that's essentially what I want to show you guys. What we're proposing to, when I came out here, was it last month?
Mhm.
Or last one that came out, it's just basically pretty simple. I saw the damage that was underneath the stereo cases, and it's normal. It's not, I don't say it's normal. Well, it is normal whenever you don't have something to protect it. So I've seen that countless times. It's what I see day in and day out. And so this is the proper way to address that. You always want to stick to an elastomeric coating.
Okay.
And the overall feel of that when it's done, it's not gonna feel like you're on a rubber step.
No, that final step, it's gonna have some of that grit, that sand,
Yeah.
you're gonna have that.
But I mean, I guess it wouldn't necessarily feel spongy walking on it. It's not gonna be thick
No,
enough to
no,
give you
no,
any.
no.
Yeah, you won't feel it at all. There's a lot of times where
And I'm assuming you've been out there to look, is this
That's a
color
heavy
that's on here pretty close to what we would have? You think?
Yeah, that's good to
Pretty
have the
much
fountain.
impressive,
If you
though.
choose that color, that's where we're gonna go.
Well, I
Sit
mean,
there.
we need to be in a gray concrete look, so you wouldn't want it,
I'd hate to have to sit there and
I
peel
wouldn't
that
think you'd
off.
want it a different color.
I wouldn't
Be
suggest the
tight.
gray.
Yeah.
That's a smaller,
Before y'all leave, can you also look at those other steps that
Yes.
are similar to the east, so that I'd hate for us to do 2/3 of the work and leave one set of stairs
Well, the quote.
No, I
was
agree
both
with
steps.
that, yeah.
the what?
The quote we have is for both steps. We're
Well, we got
doing
three
great.
sets.
There's three.
But one set of
See,
steps
that's
were
got a
replaced
different-
in the last
Sure,
20
yeah.
years, so they
Wow.
deteriorated because they're
better.
facing the sun.
Okay.
Hot
And
from the
they,
sun.
and they've cracked a lot more probably
Yeah.
than,
hate to
than
have
the
to
other
peel
sets.
that off.
But they're newer,
You
but
could
they
take
have
a layer
lots of
that
stress
board
cracks in
and
it.
you
Yeah.
take it out.
So you know there's
It
six
does,
feet.
it does
That's
make
that
sense if we're
heavier.
gonna do it, to do all three
Okay.
sets.
And that's the main entrance?
No, that'd
No.
be the west side.
West side.
You,
It's just
you
like the
price
east
the
side.
east
If
and
you-
the
You want
south.
to lay down,
The west
scratch
side
your
is still
back.
on you. But,
That's,
I mean, it's a sizable, the product for this is not cheap, I realize that. And it's a lot of prep to get it done.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, it might actually save some money.
Sure, while we're
to
out
do
here,
all of it,
absolutely.
But,
You don't want to conceal. I mean, you already have some damage already underneath the steps on the. What is it? West
East
side?
side.
East side.
East side, you got a lot of water
There's-
damage.
Yeah, there's already some damage there. You want to just stop it where it's at before it continues, and just kind of prevent anything else. It's just, that's the main thing. The integrity of the concrete. You want to maintain whatever's left.
Yeah, the south side, it's been waterproofed underneath, so we've stopped a lot of it from penetrating all the way into the building, but we want to stop it from getting to the waterproofing underneath.
And then when they begin, I typically come out anyway, especially like something like this where cities and states are involved. Stop by usually beginning, middle, and end. But if it's gonna be like a 3-day, 4-day thing, I'll just swing by, take a look, make sure that everything's being done. And I typically do a report anyway, and I'll do a report of what I've seen, how the process was going, and do the whole report and then submit it out to him, whoever's involved, and that way everybody's on the same page. and that's to make that same report to my team. That way we know that there's a warranty that's gonna be addressed.
Okay.
Well, that's answered a bunch of our questions.
Yeah, I do appreciate you coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
quote us for that, west steps while you're here,
Okay, we'll do.
Sounds good.
and get that back
I
correct.
guess they're relatively the same as.
They're gonna be
these
just
steps.
exactly like the E-steps.
The problem is that they'll put it over 50, you'll have to put it out for bid. Well, maybe not
May
until
not.
September 1st.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. But we were
Are
really,
you on
we were
any
really concerned about
co-op programs with
the
government
UV,
co-op?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can find out for you.
Okay, 'cause that, yeah, if we're on a government co-op, we don't have to bid the process.
Okay.
Cause we're gonna be over 50.
Okay. Yeah, I'll find out for you.
I think if you're doing a lot of government work, you probably are somewhere.
Ricky, you got any questions or comments?
No. Did you
You've
see
been
these
working on it.
materials, Rick?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything else, guys?
No.
Y'all really helped us. I
All right,
appreciate
no
it.
problem.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Glad we could help.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Indigent healthcare,
No, you want to show us?
activities report. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
They've been busy, and we're gonna see a lot of them again on Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll see you next week also. Alright, so we're gonna first start with what was titled as the active total. This is the total for this current session for us. As of right now, we have a total of 85 clients, meaning that we have 85 active clients. They get 100% coverage with us. They get primary care, specialty care, prescriptions across the board. Across the past few years, we did pull some numbers from 23 to current. We're roughly about the same. Anywhere from 106 to basically 110 clients down to at least 80 clients across the board. It's only gone up since last year whenever we started in for outreach purposes. They typically do decline after this month. A lot of our clients are seasonal based. If the weather is bad or good, that's typically when our numbers will come in and play. So roughly anywhere from 70 clients to 110 clients is actually what we've been looking at. And then for the remainder of this month, we have currently 7 clients that are IA pended, meaning that they only get the 25% coverage with us. They only get to see their primary care, the ER visits, and urgent care. And then also for our jail clients, we're currently sitting in at 22 that are actively on indigent healthcare that meet our qualifications for it. From there, we currently have about 6 cremations that have been pushed through. I believe there's been a few more since we've pushed through, since we've sent the reports over. I believe like 3 extra ones that we've pushed through.
Is that number pretty steady?
For the cremations?
Yeah, for the.
For this season, for this month, yes, sir. Typically during the winter time, we do see an influx of that, just because of the weather and the elements.
Okay.
But yeah, typically about 8 to about 15, I'd probably say max is what we've ever
Which
received.
is way more than what we were seeing 10 years ago.
Yes,
It's-
definitely.
It's increased dramatically.
Yes. On the next portion, we have our burial service totals. Those are basically the totals that we've done for the beginning of the year to current, and then also for our reimbursement process. Currently, right now, we are currently working on 2 veteran cremation reimbursements, along with a reimbursement from the next of kin, just to pay back a portion of the cremation or the transport. To date, we have saved about $2,800 from just reimbursements on just the cremation side of it.
That's something that's never been pursued. in the
No.
past.
And then within the last month and a half, I think is the last time we did our reports, we have actually added on a Novolon, which is a insurance discovery program. Currently, to date, we have ran over 177 clients across the board for our side and also for the jail side. We have then found 46 clients have other insured companies, meaning that we are making sure that we are the second payer of everything. If they are insured, that Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, something across the board, Humana, United Healthcare is being billed first before that bill comes to Wichita County.
So that's really, really impactful when we're
Yes.
talking about transporting inmates. It's
Yes.
where most of these are being found.
Yes.
So when we bring an inmate client in, we were paying them, they're paying the full cost. And with it, now that we're able to track their insurance, we're losing some of those transport costs and the cost of being hospitalized. It's been huge.
Correct, definitely. Let's see. Along with that little month and a half, we've also added on Smiley Dental. They are a new provider for us for dental services across the board. We cover the extractions, the fillings, just like normal, and then we also have the preventative care in there as well for them, the annual x-rays and the annual cleaning. It's just to help our clientele across the board to not have to pay for the extractions and the fillings down the road. For that cleaning, it will just help maintain their teeth and maintain that we don't have to pay for those extractions down the road for them.
And it's something that we've worked for
For
since
a
I've been
while.
involved, trying to get a
Yeah.
dentist on board, so.
Yeah. So even while still doing all of our fun activities, maintaining the office, we're still maintaining to keep the bottom dollar down for our clients. So if they ever need optometrical care, glasses, currently through Indigent Healthcare, we do not cover glasses, we just cover the exams. So we then use the voucher program for America's Best. So that saves roughly about $135 per client per visit. So each time a client comes and says that they need to go to the optometrist for the visit or for glasses, we're like, well, do you have any underlying issues? No? Okay, great, let's get you scheduled and let's save that bottom dollar, not only for their $30,000 that they are allotted, but also just for the bottom dollar for Wichita County. So $135 is then saved per client each time they go to America's Best. And for 2024, we've currently saved about $1,200 currently so far for 2015. Or for 2025, we have saved $1,481. So we are trying to save as much as we can across the board. Along with that, we've also been able to drop the number of our prescriptions down. Our prescriptions were sitting in about $1,500 from 2017 to 2019. From there, it was dropped down to $600. We have currently dropped that down to $500 per script. So our scripts across the board had been pretty high, like we presented last time. They are currently still lowering as we go. I do not have a updated quarterly. In October, when we do our next one, I do have a presentation for that one as well.
What, 90% reduction? in-
I think it's about 110 actually. If you actually do the math on it, it's a very big deduction across the board.
It's a huge amount.
Correct.
Well, what does it mean that the county is paying $500 per medication?
So that is per script. So if you, let's say you take metformin, anything for across the board, per script is $500. That's the max of it. Anything more than that, we do not authorize it.
But there is medication less than that, right?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes, sir. There's medications at
Okay.
$6,
Oh,
but it counts to their one of three
Oh,
that they can get.
And there are
Once
a bunch
upon a
that
time,
are
we
lot
were
more
paying
than that,
up to
too.
$2,000 for a single script,
for a high dollar med.
yeah.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So
But we've maintained a relationship with St. Vincent de Paul, so that's why the numbers do go down. It's a mail-in pharmacy prescription service for our clients that houses 300 to 500 prescriptions in-house, absolutely free for them. And then also a shout out to the transition clinic that actually helps them out. United Regional is a very big part of this as well, that helps us keep our numbers down. During that entire process, we have actually been able to still maintain our outreach events. Yesterday, we actually went to Metropolitan Church for the haircuts for homeless. We were there from 3 to 7. We saw about 18 people roughly in regards to potentially getting signed up for indigent healthcare. There, I think there was about 40 homeless gentlemen and women there in regards to just getting free haircuts across the board. So currently, right now, what we are looking forward to is by the end of next month, we have our fiscal year for 2025-2024 closing out for indigent healthcare. September, we have our new year for 2025 and 2026 starting up. From there, we also have our community meeting with the United Regional CEO and also our supporting community. We have a lunch and learn hosting by the Indigent Healthcare Office, so we will be hosting our very first lunch and learn for all of our providers on the 5th floor this year. So
And we got that notice.
yeah,
Thank you.
we are looking forward to that. We will go in depth of more of like what we do, what we cover, what we do not cover, some different scenarios, and we're actually partnered with the auditor's office to be speaking on their billing process, since they do handle all of our billing claims across the board. We're very excited about that. Actually, that was a very big project that we are very thrilled to do.
Aim of that's to maintain a good relationship with our
Correct.
providers and to attract new providers and keep our costs down and let them understand our payment.
When we see those prescriptions though, and those doctor visits, and you see that as a cost, but if that prevents a hospitalization, you just save the whole system a bunch of money.
Yes, sir.
And that's something we don't take into
Yeah.
consideration a lot of times, just
Yes, sir.
if you treat it early and keep it from being a big bad deal,
Yes, sir.
it does save the system money.
Correct, yes, sir. Another thing that we have coming up is the 2nd annual Sober Fest. So that is hosted by Sober Inc. Living. We will be a vendor there, I believe yourself, the judge, and maybe the mayor, I think is the ones that are hosting that as well. We're there to judge. We'll be there, we'll have our little booth there, so just come on by and say hi. We also have our TICA conference coming up in October, which is the Texas Indigent Healthcare Association's meeting. We are gonna be going down to Austin to just meet with everybody inside of the Texas community for indigent healthcare, whether that's hospital districts, other agencies that, I believe some of them are county clerks that do this also, that are small agencies, but everybody in Texas will be there for it. It's a great resource for us in regards to communications, how they operate, and just breaking down the logistics of what Chapter 61 is for across the board. So
We picked up a lot of best practices after last year.
yes,
so,
yes, that's,
Yeah. Which we're seeing the great results off of that small investment goes to good.
correct, definitely.
Anything else? Any questions, comments? Ladies, thank you once again for a great job. You're
Thank
doing a
you.
great
Thank
public service and you're doing it on budget. I love
Yes.
that. I love
Yeah,
it when
they're-
a plan comes together.
They've actually improved our customer service
Yeah.
and we're drawing in the clients that we need to and we're
Correct.
not paying for people we don't need to.
Correct.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate being here.
See ya Tuesday.
All right, Mr. Purse, wake up back there. It's your turn. We got the Katrina and Wayne show here, so we'll do that.
It's a circus.
Interestingly enough, it's hard for me to imagine that we're nearly in August. I mean, I'm stuck in April or somewhere, I think maybe December. But that means school's coming, 4-H activities are gonna jump up. I mean, y'all got a
Pumpkin
lot
spice
to
is
play.
coming.
Yeah. And the new building's coming along. I looked at it yesterday, and I don't know, they probably poured the approach, I guess.
They poured it this morning.
I thought they were going to, I didn't get by there this morning. but
We're
it's
gonna
ready.
prepare that, just like you're gonna do the steps here, make it.
Sure, we could. That's some consideration, but no, I know y'all got a lot coming up. We're about to move in. Not that there's not ever a busy time, but it's a lot coming up, so.
Yeah, we
Added
haven't had a
seasonal.
slow summer at all, so it's been, June and July are crazy months. We have a lot of things going on. And then we're at the end of the 4-H year. It starts re-enrollment August the 15th. And so then we get kicked off for everything else.
And we
But-
didn't tell you, we're not gonna have the air conditioning on over there till October, so, no, not really.
I just got back
Don't
from
even say
Europe.
it.
There was no air conditioning
Yeah.
or ice there, so I'm all right.
Okay.
So this last year we had 228 enrolled in the 4-H program here in the county. We had 44 registered volunteers, which were our parents, our project leaders, our shooting sports coaches, 160 4-H club members, and then 24 Clover kids, which were our 5 to 7 year olds. And some of those will graduate this year to move on up to our regular 4-H club members, and then we have some new ones coming on board too. So we're very excited. We have a great 4-H Clover club that meets and does all sorts of fun things every other week. So we had 9 clubs chartered this year. Some of our programming highlights, we did Keys to the Courthouse that I've been here to talk about before. So we had about 40 people and kids who participated in our morning session for elementary and our afternoon for our middle school and high school age kids. And we're gonna do that again this year, hoping to draw in some of our public school, our private school kids as well, and bring them in for the same type of program. So I think we had a really good,
It was an excellent program.
yes. And we appreciate Commissioner Beecham and the judge for working with us on that. And so I think I've had a lot of great feedback on that, and so we wanna do that again. I always do hatching in the classroom at our schools in the county, some of our private schools. Also did it for the Watch Me Grow Center, the United Way, and Campfire Hatch Chicks. And they're actually keeping their chicks, and we're going to help them get a coop and keep it predator proof from all the live animals over Lucy Park area. So hopefully their chicks will stay alive. I worked with Region 9 this last year to do It's Your Money, which is a financial literacy program. We reached over 200 students to talk about careers, and then they had to make a monthly budget, and they had to visit different stations. So it's really enlightening to the students to kind of think about as they graduate from high school and how the real world's going to kick in. And we're going to do that again this year. It's scheduled for November the 18th. So it's multiple schools in the Region 9 district. I had about 30 volunteers helping that day. I'm bringing in our specialist this year from Stephenville. So I got a capital farm grant of $800 to purchase some temporary pens for our ag days. So we have, we're not having to haul heavy pens or panels to the schools, but we have some temporary pens to hold our goats or our lambs or any of some of our other animals that show up for ag days. The Explorers 4-H Club, we helped get a grant for $2,000 from Halmet to purchase robotic sets for them, because they're my big robotics kids and go into contest. So we purchased 4 sets of the new Lego robotics. So ours that we were using were very outdated and kind of hampered them when they go to contest. So, and they've already been playing with them and coding them and doing all sorts of fun stuff. And for this next year, we're hoping to do Keys to the Courthouse. We'll do STEM nights. I have some kids interested in doing a STEM night once a month.
What's
so
that?
it's just doing science experiments, different things, making it fun, and exploring STEM type of projects. So, and we'll open that up to within the county. My big programs are career readiness. So I'm going to meet with kids twice a month. Once we'll go do a job tour. So a job site tour of some career, get to talk about what's needed for that career, what's, kind of explore the situation, the environment, and get just some explored to different experience to different careers in the community. And then the second meeting of each month, we will talk about interviewing and how to dress for interviews, working on resumes, networking, all of that stuff that you need to go and be a professional when you go and interview for a job. Not wear pajama pants, make sure you're shaking hands, making eye contact, all sorts of fun stuff like that.
Very time.
You actually put them through an interview?
We will, yes.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll begin working with the Workforce Center of North Texas and some other professionals in the community, and put them through that process. For each, nearly every project we have, they have to interview or present something, so it's just adds on top of that. So.
Which
Important
is
skill.
exactly why you can pick these kids out that have been through this program, the FFA program, because they're doing that kind of stuff.
They're leaps and bounds
You
above
can
other
pick them out of the
Yes.
crowd, I guarantee you every time. It's amazing what that does. And I don't know why our society, we forgot about that, but I'm glad to know we're picking it up, and it matters.
I had a first year 4-H'er this year who did a public speaking contest at our district roundup, and he was, just pick a subject that you're passionate about. he is very passionate about King Tut. I have learned so much about King Tut that I didn't know. But every week we worked on his speech, and he added more, and he had a little bit of a speech disorder, and it continued to improve. And I actually ended up being one of his judges at the contest. And he came in and he just kind of blew us away because he was much more confident than when we started. And it was just fabulous to see that growth in him. So I hope to continue that and do a lot of good stuff with him. So it was very exciting to see the progress with him and his confidence grow, and he did such an excellent job. All of my kids did really great. And then my other big project for the year, we're going to do a emergency preparedness initiative. It's called My PI. And so we'll open it up to all the youth in the community and the county. And so it is about a 10-week program.
Thank you.
And they go through a certification process. So they learn how to be prepared for when a disaster strikes. They're not going to go out and be our first responders when something happens, but they get to learn CPR, they get to learn about our emergency responders, our emergency management procedures. They get certified in different things with FEMA. Our DAR officers are going to come in and lead that project. We'll also work with our local first responders and emergency management folks. And in that process, they make their own emergency plan, and then they're tasked to reach out to families and friends or neighbors and help 3 to 5 other families make their own emergency plans. So if we have 10 youth in the community, they're making their family's emergency plans. They're doing another 3. We're going to end up with at least 40 people who have an emergency plan if something happens. So they know what to do when a disaster strikes. Our DAR officers are down at Kerrville, so we haven't had time to sit down and kind of make that schedule. We're kind of also waiting on the new building to get that started, to get in there. So we're excited about that. That will be open up to any community or any youth in the county. Be reaching out to other youth organizations, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Trail Life, Family Y, anything like that to help get kids involved with that. So that will be really fun. The curriculum is a national award-winning curriculum. So it is proven, and it's really, really great. So we're going to do a 4-H book club. I have a lot of kids who like to read, which I love. And so they want to do a book club. So we're going to start a book club and meet once a month and talk about their books. So I'm working with a couple of elementary schools here to get them to succeed and do some programs and become a Healthy Texas School Campus, which is a state recognition for them. They have to do a couple of different programs with us. And we're already kind of on board with Fane Elementary, and we'll be working with hopefully Booker T. Washington as well. Of course, we always do community service. That's a big project with us. So our first one, we are co-hosting Rest Stop #1 for the Hotter and Hill 100. That's the one in Iowa Park. It's an early morning, but we're also done fairly early before it gets too hot. So we have a lot of kids involved with that as well. And so then we always do donation drives for the volunteer fire departments, food banks, pet food, hygiene packs for the homeless. We did birthday cakes in a pan and donated them to the children's home this last year. Luggage drives for foster youth is always needed. We have 3 state-level ambassadors for us. So we have Chloe Chenard is our photography ambassador, Molly Hams is our shooting sports ambassador, and then Abigail Smits is our second-year Healthy Texas Youth ambassador. So they were chosen, they applied, they were chosen, and recognized at the state level to be great 4-H ambassadors. And so those are all 3 great young ladies. We have our banquet next week, August the 2nd. We had a What a Year, so we're doing a Whataburger themed banquet. We're gonna have a lot of fun. A lot of orange and white. We've reached out to Whataburger, and hopefully we're gonna get some really cool merchandise and decorations from them. Our new year kicks off August the 15th. We're back to doing a lot of back to school stuff right now. Meredith is at closing the pipeline with Serenity Foundation. Their back to school thing today. I'll leave and go right there. I have some kids working there as well. Tomorrow we do Burke's project back to school. We have Meet the Teacher nights. It's just kind of something every day of the week going as we go into the school year. So I'll be gone August 4th through the 7th to the 4-H Agent Conference in Amarillo. And then my last thing, I guess, is I got my promotion packet all done, and it was very lengthy. and a lot of work. But it did get approved, and so I got bumped up as a level 2 county extension agent. So I put in my time and did all the work and
Congratulations.
redid all the work
Great, very
to get
good.
it all done. So thank y'all very much. Any questions about the 4-H program?
Well done.
Good job,
Commissioner
Katrina.
Fincannon is gonna join us at our banquet, so we'll be looking forward to having you there.
Yes,
Katrina,
appreciate it.
one of there's many amazing things in that report, but one of the things that jumps out to me are those 44 volunteers.
Yes.
That's amazing. That speaks to your program, that you've got that many people involved, and that is so important to bring that leadership to those young people, so
Right.
it's a neat.
And
deal.
those, those are our parents and adults who registered
You
on
bet.
4-H online. We have a lot more who don't register online but help us out
Oh, yeah.
throughout the year. So
And I'm
we-
sure a lot that come and go,
Yes.
special projects, things
Yeah,
like that,
so we
that's
appreciate
an
that.
amazing,
I can't do
amazing
it
response.
alone, or I can't be anywhere and everywhere. So
says something about our community.
yes, yes, most definitely.
Very good. Excellent, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Now what, how you gonna top that?
I can't.
Yeah.
One thing, part of my responsibilities, I do help a little bit in the 4-H. I have some 4-H responsibilities, but one of the stories that you helped me tell it correctly is in that it's your money. There was a young man there that is disabled, in a wheelchair. He came in, he said, "This is me," because he was, and it's random the jobs that they receive, but it was a low-income paying job like he would receive probably. And how does he make ends meet? And when he came up, it still chokes me up when I think about him. But he came up and he appreciated it. He said, this is helpful to me. And just that one man alone made that whole program, I think, worthwhile.
Right, he was fixing to be turning 18, and so his job he had gotten was fast food worker. So, and the amount, his monthly check was going to be about the amount that he gets for his disability. And he's like, I don't know how to make it. And this kind of was eye-opening for him, and he was like, my mom's working 3 jobs to help take care of our family, and, she has to, my car and the van that they have to, have him traveling in a wheelchair. It was just, it was heartbreaking, and I was like, you can come home with me, I'll take care of you. But,
Well, one
Very
major-
likable young man.
Yeah.
one major setback just
yes.
blows your
Yeah,
heart. doesn't it?
and so many of us live like that, and so,
There's no room,
it's
yeah.
kind of an eye-opening experience, but it hit that young man, it was solid. It hit him and affected him, and he was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And so, we had long talks and discussions, and, it was just a real eye-opening experience for him, so.
Well, like I say, that was one of the many things that have touched me. The 4-H program has amazed me here. It's not the program, Jeff, we went through. It's much better. It's much better. As far as the agriculture goes, first year, a lot of work getting committees formed. We have a crops committee that's made up of 12 volunteers that helps in making directions towards research projects, towards programming, towards our educational things. We've been meeting roughly about every quarter. We need to have another one pretty soon, Barry. He happens to be on it. We're putting together a new committee. It's an ag finance and marketing committee that's going to be putting together, basically we're going to be putting together a virtual farm. And what is it going to take for people to get into farming and to make a living at it? We may even break that into 2 separate entities where one farm is a full-time farmer, but there's a lot of what I call weekend warrior farmers. Barry's one, I'm one.
More.
Yeah, more and more every year. So we're looking at one of the people who can make a living to where they can eat every day, but can they sustain that family farm? And I think that's where a lot of our family farms have gone to. People have had to go to town, get a job so that it can be sustained. And so we're going to have this committee that we're going to work together. We're going to try to meet 4 times a year, which state minimum is 3 for us to do it. But we're going to meet. There'll be hours sometimes spent at these meetings where we look at the finances, we look at markets, we look at all the things involved in the economics of it. Our local economist will be part of the committee too. And some of the state people I've reached out to have said that they'll help anyway. But we're excited about that one. That's going to be a 12-member committee. And now the horticulture committee, I've been trying to get going. A lot of dead ends I've hit there. I talked with my RPO, my regional planning leader, and he said, take a break from it, come back, give it a month or 2, sit back, come back. between health and moving. A lot of the people that used to be a part of the horticulture committee have kind of stepped out.
They're like you and me, they got a lot of gray hair.
That's it. That's it.
There's a lot of that,
Yeah, and a couple of serious health. Well, one of the men that'd be great for it. He's waiting on a liver transplant. He just doesn't have the physical ability to help right now. So we run into that. Have a livestock committee. And we're putting that together, and that's running into some walls. We've got about half of the members that we're wanting. We want a 12-man or 12 individual group. We've got about 6 right now. But a lot of them are already active in state activities, in state livestock programs, and doing a lot of volunteer work already. And I know 3 of them I've reached out to. It's like, I just don't know if I have time for another. And those people who we want to be, that would be good leaders, they're already leaders in a lot of other things too. So sometimes we're doing that. I am reaching out to younger, which there are not. About the youngest farmer in the county right now is 40 years old. And Scary, yeah. I know I think it was 8 years ago, I was the young farmer of the year. And I was gray-haired as anybody, but I fell into the younger half. When they average the age of farmers, I was the younger half, and so a lot of changes in agriculture and things that we've got to fight. But all of these committee works we're trying to put together, and these turn into educational units that we do. We have our CEU meetings that we do. I do 2 a year. I've got most of the speakers lined up for the one that we'll have in December, and I've got half of the speakers lined up for the one that we'll have in January. Now, those will be stacked real close, but one is catered to the commercial lawn and garden type CEUs that will be going on. The other will be geared towards agriculture, and they're two completely different needs there. So it's important for us to do both. And then as cropping season rolls around this year, I had 4 wheat test trials out, and 3 of them failed between drought on one place, another one on floods and drowning, and hogs. We've lost one, and then on another, the cooperating people I was working with, they decided to change plans at the last minute, and went in and harvested all without saying a word, and so we got no data as a result. But we did generate one test plot that a replicated trial that, after visiting with our local the extension agronomist, she said we get 2 more years of this, or get at least 3 more plots this next year done, and we can publish data. And so we're looking forward to that. We found that our seed berry, our planting rate for wheat, we don't have to plant these high amounts. We can plant more modest amounts, save a lot of money. One particular cooperator I worked with that helped me on planting and harvesting and all, he said if he had applied these numbers that we received this year to his farm this year, he would have saved over $15,000 in input expense. So some of these test plots are generating some good numbers that farmers can take and use and really do a good job with. One of the problems in my plots is we're looking at years sometimes to get the numbers we need, and that's difficult. We're working the corn plots that we hoped we'd have. The producers that were going to work with me on that decided at the last minute not to plant corn, so that hurt us. Cotton acres that we had some test plots lined up for, I told the farmers, let me know when you're planting, and yeah, we already planted that field. We forgot. Well, we didn't do what we were going to do, so we run into that. So as a result, now I've kind of going with Plan B, where we're going to do a lot more demonstration plots. We'll have places that were farmed and planted one way, and then another way. Just make some field tours and look at.
But it was a crazy spring.
It was. That was going to be one of my points. That the weather this year really made it difficult for a lot of farmers in a lot of ways. We have a lot of cotton that is spread out over 6 weeks planting window, and we like our planting window to be 2 weeks if possible. And now I just came back from the TC AAA meetings, the Texas County Agent Association meetings, and I got to tour a lot of cotton acres in the high plains, and a lot of our cotton is right on par with some of the best cotton in the world that's produced in the largest cotton patch in the world, and that's all the acres around that Lubbock area. There's about 4 million acres of cotton there, and it's considered the largest cotton patch in the world. And, we're here in this geological region. We're around 200,000 acres, so a lot of difference. Now in the county, we're around 50,000, I think, acres maybe. But our cotton is looking just as good as what a lot of the Lubbock country looks like, which I'm really proud for our farmers. We've had farmers that have done a lot of good work and doing a lot of things. They're scouting their fields more, and that's through education from not just maybe what I've encouraged them to do, but from our other from David that we had in the past, and I think some of the younger generation are trying to put things together a little better too. They have to, or they won't make it. So agriculturally, we could think about stock shows, things like that. That's a lot more 4-H oriented, but I know I'm forgetting something. But Barry, you probably have questions, and Jeff.
Oh, no, I will report this. On a Saturday morning, I'm planting cotton, and my agricultural agent came out to the field, and I put him to work, and he actually worked on the planter. He actually got down in the dirt, and we dug a rock out of it and got it back going, but yeah, that was good, so.
Well, now, he had to change his planting dates too. He wasn't planting deep enough, so we had to lower that seed a little bit.
When it's right at 100 degrees and the wind's blowing 30 mile an hour, I don't think you can plant deep enough.
Yeah,
So
that's
a whole other story. But then it rained that night, so
Dwayne, I've got a question. When you lay that typically, and just for my own knowledge, lay hemp down, how long does that have to dry before?
Well, a long time. You leave it down long. They basically want it to go into a rotting stage.
Really?
Yes.
So we're talking several weeks?
Yeah, 4 weeks usually. I think it's a real
Okay.
common number.
Okay. Well, I didn't know
yeah.
that was the case. Okay.
We had a small turn row meeting out there. Calvin Trussell, that's the specialist for hemp and sesame. We were out there while they were haying that field. That's right there on Watch Road. I wonder why that was named Watch Road. But he was impressed with it. He thought it was a good patch.
Well,
He
good.
said there's some that he's seen that's better, but he said he's seen a whole lot that's a lot worse. So we were excited about that.
weed control is still a big deal, isn't it?
Very big control. He said out of all of the fields that he's looked at, and Panda Biotech, they had almost identical numbers. Said of all the acres that have not been treated with herbicides, said about 10% are good, but 90% are too weedy to maybe even accept. But everyone, with the exception of one field that applied the only one herbicide that's registered for hemp, but that applied it, all the fields with the exception of one field were all clean and really good. So some numbers are coming out. That's been one of the problems with a new crop. Any new crop is weed control, insect control, because insecticides also have to be labeled for the crop and the insect that you're after. So when it's new, the research hadn't been done yet,
Right.
and we're in trouble there. But yeah, you let it go a long time,
Okay.
and it won't look like a hay bale when they're through.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Anybody else got a question, comment? We'd love to visit, but we gotta move on.
Okay.
It's gonna be lunch.
Great job again.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Ricky, anything on, let's see, jail or Bill, that'd be you on jail maintenance projects, wouldn't it?
Why didn't I refer it to Ricky? Because about the jail roof and Carlisle's report.
Yeah.
Well, basically, after the gentleman came out, we did the inspection, walked the roof, he made all his notes, got it back to Carlisle. I hit him up because I hadn't heard anything, so then I got a response a few days later that everything that they saw and that was observed didn't look like it was anything that had to do with poor installation. The hail marks on it, could have possibly, or could have damaged the roof. But in the same token, they deny hail coverage for the roof. So it's just, it's at a point now where we have to really go back and start getting all the facts and things put together and decide how we're gonna approach it.
So-
But the short story is that Carlisle thinks that the things that are wrong with that roof has nothing to do with their system.
Of course, yeah.
You haven't shocked me a bit.
Well, and I just wondered what kind of coverage liability, or what our insurance.
Well, before we go out to the insurance, Linda is reviewing all the warranty documents and the installation documents. She's reaching out to both HOK and the builders, Yates, for additional information, before we reach out to TAC. So don't wanna file a claim unnecessary. It's why we were trying to get the warranty coverage to begin with, so. But already talked to Mel on it. This may be another elephant to eat. But,
So that's that part. Back to you.
but it's a work in progress.
Rest of the stuff with the gentleman been pretty good. Of course, you know, it rains, but, we had some minor things. The breaker went bad, intercom went bad, but we got them fixed. Had some washing machine issues, but we got them fixed, and same with the AC units. So everything's actually working pretty good in the jail right now. So, knock on wood, I said that out loud. Really just the main issue is the roof and the problems it's caused.
There's nothing wrong with the roof. We already.
Well, I heard that. I heard
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. It's just leaking.
It's kinda hard to believe
27
that when you see
places.
water
Yeah.
coming through it, but,
It just leaks.
We can put this up there.
yeah, there you go. Let it move
Well,
with the
that-
roof.
Oh, goodness, didn't shock me a bit. Okay, well, we're following through, sound like Mark here, working on it.
We're working on it.
See what we
It's
do.
a team
Anything-
effort.
Yeah, anything else to mention?
No, sir, not on that part.
All right. Thank you, appreciate that. Salaries and overtime, have y'all reviewed?
Currently we have 7 open positions in the jail, and we have, 8 applications in the process. So,
What's staffing like, Will, we back to,
Like I said, we have seven open positions and 8 backgrounds that we're working on.
well, that's actually probably a little better than what, a year ago or whatever.
Oh, yeah?
Making some progress.
Quite a bit better.
That's good, that's good.
We will have another jail school next month. And we may have to have one more before the end of the year to get everybody within their 12 months.
So there is interest.
Huh?
I said there is
Well,
interest.
these are ones we've hired,
Oh.
and
yeah, that's
they've
right.
stayed
Yeah,
long
that's right,
enough
yeah.
that they're
Not a
gonna have to have
recruitment,
school.
but,
Yeah,
yeah, the training, I
we're
got you.
gonna have to have the training now, so.
Very good. Very good. Anything else on salaries and overtime, gentlemen? Any questions? If not, how about bills? Have you looked over the bills? We got a lot of them.
Where's the email?
This will be Thursday. 9:57. That's not a, precinct 2 didn't spend much money that week.
See you next week.
Pretty report.
Thank you,
See you,
Will.
Will.
$128 total.
Thank
for
you,
the week.
Will.
Really?
For 2 weeks, yeah.
Wait till your Ergon comes in.
Yeah.
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 That's probably, I probably ought to ask the, auditor's office if there's any questions on the bills.
Mike, do you know if our wire went through okay?
It looks like it went out yesterday and we don't show it coming back, so I think it's been resolved.
I guess a question on the bills would be, why are there so many? You know, why are they so big? That's gonna sure be the case for the next couple of weeks. I tell you, that oil that we're using is costing us more money, guys, but I think it's a bargain. It really is a better product.
It's a better product.
Yeah, better product.
I think it's a
Maybe
better
not a
product.
bargain.
It's a better product. We're getting a better result out of it than
Yeah, we really
previous.
are. I was impressed with it.
If it,
The way it went down,
if it lasts another year, then maybe a bargain.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
time will tell. Questions or comments? Have you had time to look?
Y'all are faster readers than me.
I've already looked
When you spend all your money on the paving oil, it doesn't take long to look at it, does it? It really- Like, wow.
I was telling Mickey, I think I'm at like 233,
Ooh,
236,000.
but you did a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I mean, the challenge I've got is I'm not sure we're maintaining. We're not because of the price. I mean, it's gone up in cost.
Well, but Barry, even at that, you would think we're maintaining, but I can't get off of having to go back and
I know.
do other roads that need to.
We've got, and it's gonna continue, I mean, we've got new houses being built out in the country, we've got people wanting this done and that done, and I mean, it's gonna be challenging over the
Yeah,
next few years.
it's going to accelerate too.
Yeah, it really is, and that's something we gotta be thinking about. Yeah, we thought we were at kind of a maintenance level where we could get around on a rotation and keep this stuff up, but we're not keeping up. And for one thing, it's traffic, increased traffic, size of traffic. We're running a lot more semis, a lot more heavier loads on those roads than we ever did before, and it's just,
Not to curse the rain that we had earlier this year, but the rain didn't
range of
do us
tough,
any
drainage.
favors on the roads.
Killed me.
Yeah, it killed me.
We,
Sure.
we do not have the right of way in most places to do the drainage we need to do.
No.
That is getting to be a bigger and bigger problem. You try to provide a roadway that's big enough for two full-size SUVs to meet at 70 mile an hour, which you're not really supposed to be driving that, but that's what we do. And you don't have room to build much of a drainage system, and that's causing problems. And it's gonna get worse, so. Anyway, anything else?
Nope.
Anything else to come before the court at this time? If not, it is 11:59 and we are adjourned.